Men over 50, listen to me. If you've been relying on baking soda alone to improve your circulation, your stamina, or your ability to perform in the bedroom, you need to stop immediately. Because using baking soda by itself may be the very reason nothing is changing. And for many men, it's the difference between hope and disappointment, between strength and silence. I see men every day who look down instead of looking up. Men who used to feel unstoppable now lying awake at night wondering why their bodies won't respond. They don't talk about it, but the pain is real. The frustration when the mind is willing but the body refuses. The quiet panic when intimacy becomes uncertain, unpredictable, fragile. The fear that maybe the best years are behind them. That desire no longer matters. That masculinity is fading away. It is a loneliness most people will never understand. Here's the part that shocks nearly every man I speak to. The real solution doesn't require a prescription, a surgery, or some miracle supplement. The answer may already be sitting inside your kitchen in 2 simple powders that become dramatically more powerful when combined correctly. My name is Dr. Mika Hayashi, and today I'm going to show you exactly how. Before we continue, if this message already speaks to you, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss another lesson built for men your age, and type 1 in the comments if you're ready to take back control. Now let's get straight into the truth behind this solution. 1. The solution to better blood flow may already be in your kitchen. Men, I'm about to say something that may shake you, not just surprise you, but stop you in your tracks. Because the truth is this: the answer to restoring strong blood flow, deep stamina, and the confidence you thought was slipping away with age may not be found in a pharmacy, a specialist's office, or inside an expensive bottle of supplements. It may already be sitting quietly in your kitchen, just a few feet from where you stand every morning, hidden in plain sight, while you search for complicated solutions everywhere else. And I know how unbelievable that may sound. After all, we've been conditioned to believe that the only path forward is through prescriptions, procedures, or giving in to the slow decline that comes with age. But what if that assumption is wrong? What if the power to turn things around has been within reach all along, waiting for you to see it? I meet men every day who carry a silent weight in their chest, heavier than fear, heavier than pain. It's the quiet grief of feeling their strength slip away. They don't talk about it, not to their wives, not to their doctors, not to themselves. They look in the mirror and wonder when their reflection stopped looking like the man they once knew. They lie awake staring at the ceiling, remembering when their body responded instantly. When warmth and presence surged without hesitation, when intimacy wasn't a question, but a certainty. And they whisper the same desperate thought: why can't I feel like myself anymore? What hurts most isn't the struggle itself. It's the feeling that they've lost something sacred: dignity, pride, manhood. They watch their partners turn away, not because of rejection, but because of sadness and confusion. They feel the distance widening, the silence growing louder. They begin to believe a dangerous lie that this is the end, that aging means surrender, that they have no control, and that belief alone breaks more men than any medical condition ever could. But here is the truth I wish every man over 50 could hear. Your body is not broken. You are not out of time. You are not weak. You are not done. What you're feeling is not failure. It's chemistry shifting, and chemistry can be supported. Chemistry can be changed, blood flow can return, warmth can return, confidence can return, not through force or drugs or shame, but through understanding how your body works and giving it what it needs to perform the way it was designed to. That's why this discovery matters so much, because what I'm about to share with you is not about miracles or luck. It's about science. It's about giving your blood vessels the environment they need to open fully, to deliver oxygen powerfully, to respond the way they once did. It's about restoring the foundation of strength, endurance, and intimate performance by using something so simple, so ordinary, that most men overlook it entirely. And here is the part that always catches them off guard. It doesn't start with a drug. It starts with a powder you already know, a powder you've used your entire life, but almost no one knows what it can truly do for aging male circulation. Let's talk about that first powder now. The powder most men underestimate, baking soda. The first powder is baking soda, sodium bicarbonate. Let me tell you something that may shock you. The powder I'm about to talk about is something you've held in your hands countless times. You've sprinkled it, cleaned with it, baked with it, stored it in refrigerators, and never once imagined that it could determine the strength of your circulation, the endurance of your body, or the quality of your most intimate moments. And yet, this ordinary white powder carries a power that most men never discover. A power that becomes more important with every year after 50 as the body begins to change in ways no one warns you about. This powder is baking soda, sodium bicarbonate, the ingredient nearly every household in America owns, yet almost no one understands. I want you to pause for a moment and think back to a time when your blood flowed like electricity, when arousal was instant and effortless, when your body responded without hesitation or fear, when life's simplest moment, a touch, a glance, a heartbeat, ignited everything. And now compare that to the present. The warmth that used to rush through your body has faded. What once felt automatic now requires work, concentration, or hope. You begin strong but lose power halfway through. Or worse, nothing happens at all. The frustration runs deeper than words, deeper than muscle or flesh. It settles into the heart. Most men silently blame themselves. They imagine they have failed, or that their age has finally taken everything from them. They say things like, "Maybe this is just how it's going to be now," or, "I guess this is what getting old means." They carry that grief alone, pretending everything is fine, avoiding conversations, avoiding touch, avoiding hope. I see the weight of that silence every day in the eyes of men who sit across from me in my office. Men who feel they are losing pieces of themselves they never thought they'd lose. But the truth is far more human and far less hopeless than they fear. After 50, the body slowly becomes more acidic. Cells don't clear waste as efficiently. Blood vessels stiffen, energy production declines, and nitric oxide, the molecule responsible for helping blood vessels open wide, begins to weaken. When acidity rises, nitric oxide collapses, and when nitric oxide collapses, blood flow fails. It's not desire that's broken, it's chemistry that needs support. Baking soda steps into that moment like a lifeline. It gently reduces acidity, restoring balance, giving your blood vessels a fighting chance to produce nitric oxide the way they used to, supporting warmth, energy, and responsiveness. This simple powder helps reopen the door that aging slowly closes, offering the first step back to strength. But I need you to hear this clearly. Baking soda may open the path, but it cannot finish the journey alone. It is powerful, but only partially. To unlock its full potential, it must be paired with the one powder almost no one uses. The ingredient that transforms support into transformation and turns a small improvement into something extraordinary. And that is exactly what we are going to talk about next. 3. The role of baking soda. Here is a truth that might hit you hard the moment you hear it. The reason so many men over 50 struggle with weak circulation, fading stamina, and the frustration of inconsistent performance is not a lack of desire, not a lack of effort, and not a personal failure. It's because inside the body, something silent and powerful is working against you every single day. Acid buildup. And the most overlooked defender against that internal enemy is the simple, ordinary, almost invisible powder called baking soda. Men underestimate it, they laugh at it, they keep it on a shelf without the faintest idea that it may hold one of the most important keys to restoring the strength and stability of their blood flow. What most men never realize is that as the years pass, the chemistry inside the body shifts. Muscles produce more acid, Cells recover more slowly. Metabolism slows down. Stress, medications, poor sleep, long years of responsibility, and the battles we never talk about. All of it builds acidity inside the bloodstream. Not enough to cause pain, but just enough to interfere with something essential, the production of nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is the tiny, powerful molecule responsible for telling your blood vessels to open, to relax, to allow blood to surge powerfully through your body. Without nitric oxide, nothing happens. Without nitric oxide, blood flow weakens, oxygen can't travel, and the response you once trusted begins to disappear. You feel it in your hands, in your feet, in your energy, in your intimacy. You feel it in the moments when you want something deeply, but the body is silent. And here is the tragedy. Men blame themselves. They think they are losing their masculinity or their vitality when in reality they are simply fighting a battle of chemistry that they never knew they were in. They swallow disappointment quietly, embarrassed to speak, afraid of judgment. I have seen men hold back tears as they whisper, "Doctor, what is happening to me? I feel like I'm disappearing." But what they're really feeling is the suffocating effect of low nitric oxide trapped inside a body that has become too acidic to create the spark needed to open blood vessels fully. This is where baking soda steps in not as a miracle, but as a biochemical tool. Baking soda acts as a pH buffer, reducing the excess acidity that suppresses nitric oxide. When the blood becomes slightly more alkaline, those endothelial cells lining the blood vessels suddenly come back to life. They begin producing nitric oxide more efficiently, more reliably, more powerfully. Blood vessels expand, warmth returns, performance strengthens, stamina lasts. Baking soda doesn't force anything. It restores the environment your body has been begging for. It gives you back something you thought was lost forever. Responsiveness, the feeling of control, the feeling of being alive. But even with all of its benefits, baking soda alone is incomplete. It opens the door. But unlocking the full power of circulation requires something more, something that transforms improvement into transformation. There is a second powder that takes everything baking soda begins and multiplies it dramatically. Most men have never even considered it. Yet, when paired correctly, the results can feel almost explosive. And that is exactly what we are about to uncover next. 4. The second powder is citric acid. What I'm about to tell you may completely change the way you think about blood flow, energy, and performance. Because the second powder in this combination is something almost no man ever considers. Something so ordinary, so simple that when I say its name, many men laugh in disbelief, at least until they try it and feel the difference for themselves. That powder is citric acid, the same sour crystal-like powder used in cooking, candy making, and preserving food. A powder you may have walked past in the grocery store 1,000 times without knowing that it holds the potential to transform the way your blood moves through your body. And yet, despite its simplicity, citric acid becomes profoundly important as you age. Because while baking soda opens the door by reducing acidity and supporting nitric oxide production, citric acid steps in like a powerful partner, turning that opening into momentum, into strength, into force. When citric acid meets baking soda in water, a rapid chemical reaction occurs. You see bubbles, you hear fizzing, and most men think nothing of it. But beneath the surface, something extraordinary is happening. Those two powders combine to form sodium citrate, a compound that older blood vessels respond to in a deep, almost immediate way. It's like flipping a switch inside your vascular system. Men often describe the first time they drink this mixture as if something wakes up inside them, a warmth spreading through the chest and down the arms. A sense that blood is finally moving again instead of fighting against every heartbeat. A feeling of clarity, energy, presence, a return to the self they thought they had lost. That isn't an illusion. Sodium citrate reduces oxidative stress surrounding the delicate endothelial cells inside your blood vessels, protecting nitric oxide so it can survive long enough to open the pathways your body needs. It improves the flexibility of red blood cells, allowing them to slide effortlessly through narrow capillaries where oxygen delivery matters most. And it feeds directly into the citric acid cycle, fueling the production of ATP, the energy currency required to maintain dilation and keep blood flowing with strength instead of collapsing halfway through. This is not about shortcuts. It's not about forcing the body into performance it cannot sustain. It is about restoring the natural capacity your body once had, the biology that once worked without effort or uncertainty. When these two powders meet, they don't compete. They amplify each other. Baking soda prepares the environment. Citric acid creates the transformation. The result isn't subtle and it isn't temporary. It feels like rediscovery, like turning the lights back on inside a room that is slowly dimmed for years. And perhaps the most astonishing part is how few men ever learn this. They spend years searching, struggling, losing hope when the beginning of their answer sits quietly on a kitchen shelf, ignored and underestimated. But the real magic of this combination isn't just in what it is, it's in how and when you take it. Because timing is everything. The mixture must be used correctly to unlock its full power. And when you understand the timing window, everything changes. And that is exactly where we're going next. 5. Why the baking soda plus citric acid combination becomes sodium citrate and why it's powerful. What I'm about to reveal may shock you because most men go their entire lives without ever understanding the real reason this combination works. They try baking soda by itself. They try supplements. They try anything that promises a spark of their old strength, but nothing changes. And they assume the problem is age or fate or failure. The truth is far more precise and far more hopeful. The missing piece isn't effort or desire, it's chemistry. And when baking soda and citric acid meet water, they don't just mix, they transform. They create a completely new compound called sodium citrate. And that single transformation is what makes the difference between a mild effect and a powerful surge of blood flow that feels alive again. Most men never even stop to think about what happens inside that glass when they see the mixture fizz. They see bubbles and assume it's nothing more than a harmless reaction. But inside that reaction, a shift is beginning. One that aging blood vessels respond to like dry earth welcoming rain. Sodium citrate enters the bloodstream and immediately begins changing the environment inside your vascular system. It reduces oxidative stress, protecting the delicate endothelial cells that line your arteries and veins. These are the cells responsible for producing nitric oxide, the molecule that controls the widening and relaxation of blood vessels. When oxidative stress is high, nitric oxide dies faster than your body can use it. When sodium citrate reduces that stress, nitric oxide survives longer, functions stronger, and circulation opens with far greater power. And that is just the beginning. Sodium citrate makes red blood cells more flexible, more elastic, more capable of sliding through the smallest vessels where oxygen delivery determines performance, endurance, and sensation. It is oxygen that fuels stamina. It is oxygen that prevents collapse. It is oxygen that keeps the body strong from beginning to end. Men who feel cold hands, cold feet, fatigue, or the fading of intimate strength are almost always struggling with poor oxygen delivery. Sodium citrate addresses that directly. Then comes the final strike. Sodium citrate feeds into the citric acid cycle, the core engine responsible for producing ATP, the energy currency that allows smooth muscle tissue in the blood vessels to open fully and stay open. Without ATP, dilation fails. Without dilation, no amount of desire or effort can overcome biology. But with ATP, everything changes. Blood moves freely. Warmth returns. Response becomes natural again, not forced or unpredictable. It feels like stepping back into a body that remembers what strength feels like. Men tell me that the first time they feel this combination working, it is like the world sharpens. Colors feel brighter. Breathing feels deeper. Their chest feels warm and alive. They stand taller. They look their partner in the eyes again instead of looking away. That moment matters more than any prescription ever could. It is the return of hope. And yet, even with all of its power, there is something most men don't know. Something that determines success or disappointment. Because while the mixture works, it only works fully if you understand the timing, when to take it, how long it needs to activate, and the exact window in which the body responds most powerfully. And once you learn that timing, the results can feel almost immediate. That is exactly what we're going to uncover next. 6. The golden timing window for the strongest results. There is something most men never learn, something so critical that it determines whether this mixture feels like a gentle ripple or a powerful surge of life moving through your body. And here is the part that may shock you. It's not the ingredients that decide whether you feel the full effect. It's the timing. You can take the right powders in the right ratio with the right intention, but if you drink them at the wrong moment, the results can disappear into disappointment. That's why some men say, "I didn't feel anything," while others describe an awakening so real it brings tears to their eyes. The difference isn't luck. It's understanding how your body responds minute by minute after taking the mixture. The moment the baking soda and citric acid fizz together and form sodium citrate, a chain reaction begins inside your bloodstream. Acidity starts to fall. Endothelial cells begin switching on again. Nitric oxide production finally has the environment it has been starved of for years. Oxygen begins preparing to surge into the tissues that have been waiting far too long. But none of that can be felt instantly. The body is not a light switch. It is more like a machine warming back to life after years of struggle. This process needs time, and the right window is everything. During the first 15 minutes, the bloodstream begins shifting from acidic to alkaline, turning off the suffocating pressure that has been holding nitric oxide hostage. Around 20 minutes, the first signs of opening begin. Some men describe a gentle warmth in the hands or chest, like a slow sunrise inside the body. Between 30 and 45 minutes, sodium citrate reaches full absorption. Red blood cells begin gliding instead of fighting. Oxygen moves faster. ATP production begins rising, and the smooth muscle inside your vessels starts regaining the strength to open and stay open. But it is between 45 and 60 minutes where the change becomes undeniable. This is what I call the readiness window, the moment where the internal work aligns and circulation becomes prepared, responsive, and powerful. Men tell me that during this period they feel lighter, calmer, more present, almost as if the body is remembering what it was built to do. Confidence returns not as a thought but as a feeling. Strength returns not as hope but as reality. And the moment that once felt uncertain becomes steady, alive, and fully under your control again. After 60 to 90 minutes, the effect reaches its peak. Blood flow is strong and stable. Ongoing oxygen supply prevents collapse. Nerve response sharpens. Stamina holds without fear. It feels natural, effortless, the way it used to be before age, stress, and biology began interfering. But none of this is possible if the timing is ignored. Taking this mixture seconds before intimacy is like planting a seed and expecting a tree to rise instantly. You must allow the process to unfold. You must respect the timing because the reward waits at the end of that hour. And now that you understand the importance of timing, we must talk about the exact formula, the precise measurement and method that turns this from an idea into a real life-changing experience. Because getting this next part right is what separates transformation from just another attempt. That formula is coming next. 7. The correct formula and how to use it properly. What I'm about to say is one of the most important parts of this entire message because this is where so many men fail without ever understanding why. They try, they hope, they follow pieces of advice they find online, and then when nothing changes, they assume the problem is them, that their body is too far gone, that improvement is impossible, that aging has already decided their fate. But here is the shocking truth. Most men who say, "It didn't work for me," never use the right formula. They guess, they eyeball, they pour random amounts into a glass, or they mix ingredients in the wrong proportion and at the wrong moment, and then they blame themselves for a result that was never given a real chance. Precision matters because what you are doing is not a kitchen recipe. It is a biochemical activation inside your body, and every detail determines the outcome. When baking soda and citric acid are combined, they must interact in the exact ratio that allows the reaction to unlock sodium citrate while leaving just enough bicarbonate to continue supporting pH. The sweet spot, the ratio tested through experience and chemistry, is 2 parts baking soda to 1 part citric acid, not equal parts, not whatever fits on a spoon, 2.1. That is the ratio that creates the transformation your blood vessels are waiting for. And when I recommend a starting amount of 3 g of baking soda paired with 0.5 gram to 1 gram of citric acid, it's because that dose is strong enough to activate the effects without overwhelming the stomach or the bloodstream. These small measurements carry big power. The preparation is simple, but the timing of each step matters. Pour 8 to 12 ounces of water into a glass. Add the powders. Let them fizz for a moment, letting the carbon dioxide release. That bubbling you see is not just noise, it is the birth of sodium citrate. Stir gently. Allow the mixture to settle just enough to drink comfortably, and then consume it on an empty stomach or at least 2 hours after eating. Your body absorbs it more quickly that way, without food interfering. Drink it 45 to 60 minutes before you need your circulation to operate at its highest level. And start small. If you've never taken baking soda before, begin at the low end. Listen to your body and slowly increase only if needed. But I need to tell you something with honesty and care. This mixture contains sodium. If you are on a strict low-sodium diet, if you have kidney issues, uncontrolled high blood pressure, or a heart condition that restricts sodium intake, speak to your doctor first. For most healthy men, this is gentle, safe, and inexpensive. But caution is wisdom, not weakness. The men who follow this formula correctly, who respect the ratio, the dose, and the timing, are the ones who look at me weeks later with tears in their eyes, saying, "I feel like myself again." They feel warmth return to their hands and feet. They feel energy in the morning instead of heaviness. They feel confidence returning in moments that once brought fear. They discover something they thought was lost forever, the strength of their own body responding when they need it most. But what they do not expect, and what surprises them more than anything, is what happens when they continue this consistently, not just once, not just when required, but as a support for long-term vascular health. Because the transformation does not end with performance, it grows. And that is exactly what we are about to explore next.